this special talk on NIP today. Now, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Vishrut Abhinna, and I'm basically from civil service background. I had also worked as an assistant professor. Prior to my civil service stint, and I had been an NTSC scholar as well. And today we are going to talk about National Infrastructure Pipeline. And before I begin the talk, of course, let me complete my introduction. That I'm currently a faculty with Unacademy, and I have long been associated with civil service mentoring and coaching programs for more than 25 years now. And several of my students are already in civil service. So this very special talk today about National Infrastructure Pipeline is going to be very helpful for the students who are appearing for civil service examination and the state civil service exams as well, and a whole lot of other exams also. This is an important topic. Now, first of all, we should understand that infrastructural development is basically the fundamental key to prosperity and growth of national economy. And unless we have infrastructural development, obviously, many of the objectives of our economic growth and national development cannot be achieved. And definitely, we have had so many projects regarding infrastructure in last more than 7.5 decades after independence. But it is for the first time that a very comprehensive conceptualization of infrastructure and its development has been made out by the present government. And in that context, we should understand that constant improvement of the infrastructure facilities has been a key agenda of the present government, as I said. And India's ambition of sustaining its relatively high growth depends largely on one single factor, and that is the basic and the long-term objective of the government in launching the national infrastructure pipeline. That one key factor obviously is the infrastructural development. And in that context, National Infrastructure Pipeline project, a program, because a whole lot of projects are there as a part of this program, that becomes very, very vital. And the NIP program was first announced by the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, during his 2019 Independence Day speech, and with an initial outlay of 102 lakh crores. Of course, now the outlay which has been earmarked for NIP is 111 lakh crores that we shall shortly see. So, launched to cover the fiscal years between 2019 to 2025, the National Infrastructure Pipeline is first of its kind and a kind of whole of the government exercise to provide world-class infrastructure to citizens and improve their quality of life. So as we can make out that this is a very broad conceptualization which will provide world-class infrastructure facilities to citizens, and the NIP covers both economic and social infrastructure. Social infrastructure like education and health is part and parcel of NIP. Then the objective of National Infrastructure Pipeline, as far as the government is concerned, is to act as an enabler to provide and infuse the funds that India would need for infrastructural development by 2030. So government intends to be an enabler, a facilitator in ensuring that these projects really see the light of the day and they are completed on time, and we are eventually able to create world-class infrastructural facilities for the citizens of our country. So now, as I said, it was announced in 2019. It covers, primarily the fiscal period from 2019 to 2025, and now, so to say, 2021 to 25, largely for 5 years. and number of projects is a whopping amount 7,400 projects in all. And the outlay, as I said, is triple 1 lakh crores, that is 111 lakh crores is the outcome. So we can see that, this is a very giant size conceptualization, in the sense that it involves an outlay or expenditure on the part of the government of 111 lakh crores, and it will be spread out now, um, largely to say, currently 2021 to 2025, all these years, and there are 7,400 projects in all involved. And what are the basic objectives of NIP? Now, NIP, as economists agree on one basic concept, that infrastructural development and an upgrade of infrastructure will play a major role in making India a $5 trillion economy by 2025. Now, if India is to become a $5 trillion economy from the present a $2.4 trillion economy to $5 trillion, means more than double by 2025, then obviously infrastructure is going to play a dominant role in that. And even as more and more of its people move to cities as a result of increasing urbanization. So we know that more and more people are moving to cities in search of better life, in search of better jobs, and of course in search of basically a better standard of living. So with that, the infrastructural requirement is going to multiply many folds in coming years. And in that context, this program, NIP, is, so to say, very, very pivotal for our overall national growth. And this is particularly important since the number of metropolitan cities, a million plus population cities, for example, in India, is estimated to increase from the present 53 to 68 by 2030. And the National Infrastructure Pipeline Program is aiming to plug the deficiencies in infrastructure and smoothen the process of urbanization by promoting ease of living and facilitating a more accelerated economic activity. So the whole idea is to provide a groundwork or infrastructure, basically, to facilitate a more accelerated economic growth and development, right? And to promote ease of living, right? Where at times we find that so many bottlenecks in our infrastructure, where may it be transport infrastructure or may it be social infrastructure, right? On the medical side, health side, and education side, we find that a lot of bottlenecks are there, and removal of these bottlenecks has become now imperative for the government, for the simple reason that we have seen during corona pandemic also that our health infrastructure was seen to be highly inadequate at times. So this project is certainly a boon in that sense, and it's really going to revolutionize the infrastructural landscape of India completely in just a few years' time from now. So according to a report by the task force set up by the Center for National Infrastructure Pipeline under the chairmanship of Atanu Chakravarti, the key objectives of NIP program. Now, I will shortly talk about the report of the task force also, but what are the objectives of infrastructure NIP, that is National Infrastructure Pipeline program? Basically, to provide a positive and enabling environment for significant private investment in infrastructure at all three levels of government, that is the central government, the provincial government, that is the state government, and the local government. So it will rather provide a very positive and enabling environment, right, for significant private investment, which is need of the hour, and to design, deliver, and maintain public infrastructure projects to meet efficiency, equity, and inclusiveness. So basically, greater inclusiveness is called for, and greater equity is called for. These are the national objectives, which are also the declared goal of the government policies and programs. And of course, increasing the efficiency, that is the very hallmark to ensure that the needs and requirements of economic growth and development are actually met. That is indispensable. A higher efficiency is indispensable for that. Efficiency with efficacy will do wonders. And so efficiency, equity, and inclusiveness, they're all, the basic goals behind the infrastructure project. And to design, construct, and maintain public infrastructure to meet disaster resilience, because disasters keep happening. So, we every now and then we find major disasters like earthquake and landslides and a whole lot of other disasters keep happening, and there the disaster resilience goals are to be met. In order to achieve that, we have to maintain public infrastructure at a very high level. Then to create a fast track institutional, regulatory, and implementation framework for the infrastructure, it's necessary that that the development of projects takes place in entirety, firstly, and secondly, their projects are completed on time and they produce the expected results, right, as requisitioned by them. So for that, a fast track institutional, regulatory, and implementation framework becomes necessary. The benchmark infrastructure performance to benchmark, to set standards for evaluation, to benchmark infrastructure performance to global best practices and standards. So if we have some benchmark to compare with the progress, with, naturally it will enable us to assess what extent our infrastructure projects have been successful. And higher the benchmark, better it is, because it will ensure that we will be able to deliver the goods of the highest standard. So our standards, have to be sufficiently high for that matter, and that is also the intent of the task force about NIP. And to leverage technology to enhance service standards, efficiency, and safety. It is necessary that we are able to make use of improvements in technology, particularly advanced technology in various fields, and to be able to enhance the service standards. Very necessary that service standards in various fields of communications and other services, they're drastically improved, necessary. And efficiency and safety aspects are, I already spoken about that. So these projects would follow a bottom-up approach, and it was adopted by the National Infrastructure Pipeline, wherein all projects which are costing greater than 1,000 crores per project, right? Whether greenfield projects or brownfield projects, and those in the conceptualization stage, they're also to be covered by this NIP. And now I will briefly discuss the report of the task force, the Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance of Government of India about this. But before I discuss the report, let me just briefly talk about Unacademy, which is the most happening place today in the country, field of quality education, online education. And in the recent civil service results, we have seen that a lot of ranks have been given by Unacademy. Means it has successfully been able to achieve this landmark success, right? As in the civil service results, we have seen that in top 27 selections, and in 21 to 120 selections, and 101 to 761, in all 143, means in all more than 175 selections Unacademy has given the recent civil service results. This is definitely a very laudable achievement, so to say. It's a very lofty achievement, particularly keeping in mind that Unacademy is a relatively new startup, right? But because it has got a great great number of top educators, right, with experience. So this is the right time and right place where you should make up your mind and join Unacademy, large number. Then, of course, the annual fee price hike is expected soon, which is extended on popular demand. 23rd December now, this price hike plus combo subscription price hike for 1 year and above 3,000, and plus GS subscription, it will be 2,000. This hike is expected from 23rd of December. So before that, you can subscribe to the courses. And comprehensive batches is starting 22nd of December for whole lot of subjects. Mission 22, 2022, Mission 2023. That is Mission 2022 English and Laksha 2022. That is Hindi medium. English as well as Hindi now is in a big way started. Then optional carnival from 6th of 6 optional courses already launched from 8th of December, and more number of courses being launched from yesterday. So what I'm saying is that a whole lot of optional subjects by very experienced educators now being undertaken. It's an opportunity for you to actually associate yourself with the great educators. They will give their experience to you, and you will get to have now a cutting edge preparation, so to say. And with subscriptions, you get to have free test series, right? You get to have every Monday test series, Monday to Friday. You have various different tests, various test series are organized. And also, please remember to use VN10 as the referral code. This will enable you to get additional 10% discount. Also, for the Mega Combat, you have to enroll with VN10 with this referral code. Will help you enter into Mega Combat, and here you can win scholarships. On 19th of December, 11 a.m., 56 questions in 60 minutes, right? And now some incentives are also there for the winners, and you can, of course, you can use this code 10 to enroll. You can enroll for this, and here 1,000 lucky participants to win exciting gadgets and gift vouchers and questions curated by top educators, and detailed video solutions by top educators are also available. So this is, so to say, a great opportunity for you to participate. Then accomplish your mission with Unacademy. You can also get instant loan with 0% interest rate, no processing fee, flexible tenure, minimal paperwork. That is possible now for those of you who actually want to become IAS, but due to some reason lack finance or resources. And iconic subscriptions, you get to have live mentoring, study planner, and open house with educators also. So this is, I mean, additional facility you get to have if you subscribe to iconic courses. So I was talking about the NIP. The key benefits of the NIP, first of all, now to all stakeholders in India. For example, how is it going to help the economy? What are the benefits which will accrue to economy? The task force itself, Ministry of Finance task force itself is elucidating on that, and it's a well-planned NIP will enable more infrastructure projects, power business, create jobs, improve ease of living, and provide equitable access to infrastructure for all, thereby making growth more inclusive. So it will have the benefit of inclusiveness and equitable access to infrastructure for all, and improve ease of living, and obviously, help the economy grow by creating jobs. And benefits to the government, of course, well-developed infrastructure enhance the level of economic activity on the one hand. It will create additional fiscal space by improving revenue base of the government. Obviously, if we have well-developed infrastructure, better business, more growth, and that will lead to more of revenue for the government, and that will lead to more of national prosperity in general, and ensure quality of expenditure focused on productive areas. So obviously, with this kind of accelerated pace of development, obviously the quality of expenditure can be improved, and a more productive areas the investment will be made. And for the developers, a whole lot of benefits are there, like provides better prepared projects and would reduce aggressive bids and failure in the project delivery, right? Ensures enhanced access to sources of finance as a result of increased investor confidence. So if the investor confidence increases, obviously it will help in tapping into more sources of finance for the projects. And mostly, projects fail because of lack of finances. And if greater confidence of investor is created, obviously it will help in a big way in garnering the finances and in ensuring adequate finances for completion of projects on time, and that will lead to great success of these projects. So this is definitely a very big advantage to the developers, because at the national level now this conceptualization is being undertaken. So obviously it's going to in the long run provide all the necessary help to developers by boosting investor confidence, by boosting the finances, by they will be able to tap into more sources of finance, and it will also reduce on their part aggressive bids and failure. Aggressive bids, I mean, if they so if an adequate uh, compliance of guidelines is there, and investor confidence is also enhanced, and better technology is provided, obviously it will help in a big way completion of projects, right? And the bank and institutional financial institutions and investors is going to provide a whole lot of benefits, like it will build investor confidence as identified projects are better prepared in the first place. Exposures are less likely to suffer stress given the active project monitoring by competent authority, and thereby ensuring better returns. So investors will also eventually have better returns. We have seen that infrastructure projects are not rated very high as far as their credit ratings are concerned, but if an overall stout national support is provided, obviously they will be rated high, and the returns would also be high, right? At least higher than the present scenario. It's definitely going to improve upon the perception of the investors, perception of the developers, perception of the bankers and the financial institutions as well, and it's going to also so to say enhance the revenues for the government. Yeah. So a whole lot of benefits are there, which the task force itself has highlighted these benefits, right? And of course, in addition to all these benefits, one great benefit is that the perception of the nation in the eyes of the committee of world outside, that increases. Because if you have great international standard infrastructure, like for example, our airports have been highly modernized. Many of the airports, they match up to international standards, and our Delhi airport is regarded as number one airport, right? The ranking. So what I'm saying is that this improved perception will lead to greater international confidence, and it will also lead to better credit ratings for Indian financial institutions and Indian central bank as well, right? So in a way, I mean, it's going to be immensely helpful both internationally, nationally, and for the citizens, for the government, for the bankers, for developers, for a lot of people who are associated with this. And it was need of the hour. I mean, for a long time, we have seen that infrastructure is one key area where India was suffering badly, right? And we had bled profusely because of this near complete absence of infrastructure in several parts of the country. This is the first time that more than 7,000 projects are being conceptualized, and it's going to really revolutionize the infrastructure scenario of the country within 5 years from now. Now, what are the constituents of NIP? That briefly I will explain. As per the task force itself, these constituents, and then of course the reforms which are being contemplated and conceptualized, that also I briefly talk about. So first of all, we are talking about the constituents of NIP. The NIP has been made on a best effort basis by aggregating the information provided by various stakeholders, including the ministries, the departments, the state governments and private sector across infrastructure subsectors identified in the harmonized master list of infrastructure. So there is a harmonized master list of infrastructure as well, which is a broader set of which NIP is a subset, so to say. So there's a harmonized list of master list of infrastructure is there, and this definitely is going to uh, you know provide the best results, because now we'll be able to synchronize the entire infrastructure planning based on harmonized master list of infrastructure. And to draw up the NIP, a bottom-up approach has been adopted wherein all projects costing greater than 100 crore per project. I already told you that a bottom-up approach is going to help in a big way, because it will ensure greater participation at all levels. And if we talk of the constituents of NIP, therefore, economic and social infrastructure projects as per harmonized master list of infrastructure. And then the projects worth more than 100 crore per project with a greenfield under construction, and brownfield projects, development of the completed projects, right? They are brownfield projects, and also like projects under conceptualization. So all in all, put together these four different kinds of projects, they will make up for NIP. And sector-wise summary, if we see the total capital expenditure in infrastructure sector during 2022 to 2025 fiscal period is projected to be 111 lakh crore, that I told you right in the beginning. Now, if you look at this table, we'll get to have an idea that during different financial years, for example, financial year 2021, 22, 23, 24, and 25, right? That is 22, 25. What is the expected outlay, right? Estimated and projected outlay in different sectors like energy sector, power, renewable energy, atomic energy, petroleum and natural gas, and then total energy. If you look at it, then it would come to that is 26 lakh crores during this 26.9 lakh crores during this time. And so it's a lot of emphasis on energies. And then roads, after energy, energy infrastructure, we are this all power, renewable energy, atomic energy, petroleum and natural gas, all four major components of this. And roads, roads, and then railways, and then ports, and then airports, and then the urban infrastructure. So here we find for the roads, for example, 20 lakh crores, right? And for railways, for ports, and for airports, that we can see the figures out here. A little over 1 lakh crore for ports, and little over 1 lakh crores, that is 1.43 lakh crores for airports. Then the urban infrastructure now, Atal Mission for rejuvenation and urban transformation, smart cities, and mass rapid transport systems, and affordable housing, Jal Jeevan Mission, and all this put together. That so we can see here that total urban infrastructure is 19 lakh, more than 19 lakh crores. Then digital communication, irrigation, and rural infrastructure, water and sanitation, agriculture infrastructure, food processing industries, food and public distribution, and of course then social infrastructure. We talk about higher education, school education, health and family welfare, sports, and tourism. So these four segments of social infrastructure: education, and health, family welfare, sports, and tourism. So mainly, these four broad areas, and health and family welfare I'm counting as one here, right? So that put together 3,93,000 crores for this, and here it is 3,93,000 crores. So we see that industrial infrastructure, industries and internal trade, for that also more than 3 lakh crore, and for steel projects, infrastructure projects, more than 8,000 crores. So put together 111 lakh crores, right? Put together. Now, if we see the sector-wise breakup of this, we can make out that here 24% energy, and 18% roads, and then railways 12%, and ports 1%, and airports also 1%, urban infrastructure 17% of the total outlay, then digital infrastructure 3%, then irrigation 8%, rural infrastructure 7%, agriculture, food processing infrastructure, that is 2%, social infrastructure is 4%, and industrial infrastructure is 3%. You see that social infrastructure is 4%, and I told you the social infrastructure, we have the health is there, education is there, and sports is also there, and tourism is also. So basically education, higher education as well as school education, health, family welfare, and sports and tourism. For that 4%. Industrial infrastructure, that industries and internal trade, and steel, that's 3%. But the largest share is that of the energy. And energy, we have spoken about it. Renewable energy projects are there, and and a whole lot of projects in that power generation projects, renewable energy projects, atomic energy, and petroleum and natural gas. 4 areas concerned with energy, 24%. 18%, of course, roads. This is of course a major requirement for us, and still, like, of course, we after Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee's initiative, we have had that golden quadrilateral projects, and we have in the meantime, ever since the premiership of Mr. Vajpayee, we have seen that a massive development of road infrastructure. But despite all that, road infrastructure requires a lot of outlay, and therefore it has rightly been earmarked as 18% of the overall NEP outlay for the roads, and railways 12%, which is a whopping amount, so to say. Ports, and now, so what we can see is that we can make out from this pie chart the complete sector-wise breakup of capital expenditure of 111 lakh crore during the fiscal 2020 to 2025, and share of center, state, and private sector in the implementation of this will be center 39%, state 40%. So we can see nearly matching share will be there. Center a little less than that of states, but more or less matching, 39%, 40%, and remaining 21% share is of the private sector. And so here it is, 39% of the center, 40% of the states, and 21% has been kept for the private sector. Then if we talk about the stages of implementation of NIP, now out of total outlay of 111 lakh crore, 44 lakh crore worth of projects are under implementation already. Right, 44 lakh worth of crores, and 34 lakh crore worth of projects are at the conceptualization stage, and 22 lakh crore, 20% worth of projects are under development. So information regarding project stage are unavailable for projects worth 11 lakh crore, right, 10%, and of course by and by the task force is gathering this information as well. So what I'm saying that if you talk of the stages of development, so here it is under implementation 40%, and under development is 20%, at conceptual stage 30%, and uncategorized is 10% as of now. Then let us talk about the reforms, which are concerned with the NIP, because without major reforms, grand success of NIP will possibly not be there. So in order to make it a grand success, a whole lot of reforms are required. And in order to scale up infrastructure investments in various sectors throughout the country, it is critical to introduce a set of general reforms. Now, this is the report of the task force of the Ministry of Finance on NIP, and as we can make out that they have dwelt into all the aspects, nearly all the aspects of this great conceptualization of national infrastructure pipeline program, and also update existing sectoral policies and reforms. That goes without saying that reforms are badly required in many areas, right? And this will aid in propelling investment in the infrastructure sector. Obviously, if reforms are there and ease of doing business is improved, and clearances are accorded faster, projects are well planned, well thought out, and well monitored and well evaluated, then definitely, the success of the projects can be ensured in the given time. And for that, all these reforms become, so to say, indispensable. And some of the key policies and reform initiatives to be undertaken by the government are highlighted here for that matter. As per the task force, improving project preparation processes. Now, project preparation processes such as planning is very vital, and design are considered critical steps in creation and efficient implementation of bankable infrastructure projects. Ultimately, success of any projects will depend upon how meticulously the project has been thought out and planned, and how accurately it has been designed. If it has not been accurately designed and comprehensively planned, obviously no project can really become successful as expected, right? So what I'm saying that this kind of preparedness has to be enhanced in a big way. Inadequate attention to project planning may lead to avoidable delays in the implementation of the project, or may even lead to scrapping of the projects prior to its implementation itself. So that, this area is basically project management area, and there, because ultimately NIP is nothing but a bunch of infrastructure projects, and every project has to become successful. And for that matter, uh, reforms are required at all stages of right from the conceptualization of the project up till the commissioning and handing over of the projects, and trial runs of the projects, and successful implementation of the projects, and successful execution of the projects. So what I'm saying that for the people, in order to get full benefits of these projects, it is necessary that the reforms are there at all stages. Reforms are also badly required in drafting proper contracts for the projects. So various clauses which will make it easier for all the parties to understand the project requirements completely, and in case of a difficult and critical situation, to be able to wriggle out of it, in such a way that it is beneficial to all parties. Government is also not affected, and the people who put their money into the project are also not badly affected, and the people who are executing and who are creating that project are also not affected. So what I'm saying that it is very necessary that various dimensions of contract drafting are seen carefully, and that is of course one of the key planks of the reforms agenda of NIP. So it is critical to have a robust project preparation framework consisting of transparent policy and legislative framework. First of all, this is at times, if the policy and the legislative framework is a bottleneck, then the projects will have to be at times even scrapped, or they cannot be completed. So there is a transparent policy framework and legislative framework is required. Presence of an overarching, capable and empowered public institution for infrastructure planning. So for planning, a larger institution, an overarching, capable institution, sufficient expertise, that is badly required. Presence of guidelines, national standards, model bidding documents. Now, bidding documents, as I said, that RFPs, that is RFP, that is a requirement for request for proposal. At that, right from that stage, RFP stage, model bidding document, they're called, and standard procedures and national standards have to be involved, and presence of guidelines have to be there, and design considerations, including disaster resilience, and all these aspects have to be inbuilt into the project contract. And well-defined workflows, proper appraisal, audits and approvals for quality assurance of project preparation documents, etc., will be required. You see that project audit is also very important at different stages during the implementation and after implementation of the project also. These audit reports will enable, in bringing out deficiencies, and also in showing various lacuna in the project preparedness, and also in implementation, and subsequently in achieving the full results of the project. And quality assurance is of course badly required, right? Well, not merely quality control, but quality assurance is rather more important than quality control, right? And project preparedness and establishment of a project organization for a special purpose vehicle, a kind of organization which will be having a specialization in project planning, designing, as I already suggested, with that capability has to be there at the national level. Then enhancing the execution capacity of private sector participation. Enable robust private sector participation in the infrastructure sector. It is critical to have a deep pool of experienced developers with required competence and execution capacity. So at present, most of the infrastructure sectors in India only have a handful of strong private sector participation. Now, private sector participants, if they are, there has to be a sizable number of private sector participants. Otherwise, who will implement the projects? Government alone cannot do it. So generally speaking, like public-private partnership mode is preferred mode for that. That should be promoted, and more amenable terms in the contract should be there, with good standards for performance evaluation, monitoring, and eventually for the success of the project, every possible conceivable idea should be incorporated into the contract documents itself. Then, of course, to alleviate the lack of capacity of scheduled delivery of projects and development of a pool of private developers, it is necessary to have an effective enabling environment and capacity development of private sector. Enabling environment has to be there. People just shirk away, and private people don't want to participate in many government projects because of too many formalities. So that has to go, and a better environment has to be created in both public as well as the private sector. Decision making has to be enabled, and it should not be the legislative framework and the overall working environment should not inhibit proper decision making. It should encourage, and only things can be successful. And collaborations and joint ventures with strong global infrastructure developers must also be facilitated to build domestic capacity. So here it's an important point that global infrastructural developers, so a collaboration with them must be promoted, and so that will be doubly helpful, not only for completion of the project, but also to build domestic capacity, right? So this rather is a great conceptualization for successful completion of NIP projects. And robust enabling environment has to be there. I already spoken about it, that effective enabling environment comprises a robust policy framework as well as developed public institution capacity. Both these things must go together. And there should be optimal risk sharing between the public and the private sector. Now, this is important to understand that loading contracts with difficult conditions, both financial and non-financial, has led to unnecessary burden, leading to financial stress and potential insolvency amongst developers. And this must stop. This is what the task force is suggesting. It's such a wonderful idea that that if you load the contracts with difficult conditions, either financially or non-financially, that will lead to unnecessary burden on all the parties concerned, and particularly the firm and the company which is executing the project, and that puts them in financial distress at times. So mutually agreeable terms and conditions with adequate number of clauses to be able to deal with situations which might arise should be there. So what all things must be there? Adoption of international contract standards, such as FIDIC standards, for example. What are FIDIC standards? Now, FIDIC standards, these are standards practiced and followed by the members of International Federation of Consulting Engineers, commonly known as FIDIC. Its acronym is based on the French name, Fédération Internationale des Ingénieurs Conseils. The French word, basically. So, is an international standards organization for consulting engineering and construction, best known for FIDIC family of contract template. So FIDIC family contract templates means standard, global standard. Then we will adopt global standard, and you'll be able to achieve better success with FIDIC standards. What I'm saying is that. So these FIDIC standards should be adopted by all infrastructure departments, including railways, which clear procedure with clear procedures for change of scope, termination payments, and safe exits for parties. So all these provisions must be incorporated in the contract. And project bidding and awards are to be done only after fulfilling requirements such as 90% of the contiguous land acquisition and all clearances for the project. So this bidding process, the bidding and awards should be done when this sufficient groundwork in land acquisition and other aspects has been done. Otherwise, what would happen? That project cannot be successful otherwise, right? So then sanctity and enforcement of contracts has to be maintained. In order to boost private sector interest, it's critical that sanctity of the contracts is upheld by the center, state, and local governments as well as all parties, including the private sector. And provisions of contracts therein should be legally enforceable, which makes the parties involved legally abide by these contracts. It's necessary that parties cannot go scot-free in case if they are delinquent or if they are not able to deliver the goods as per stipulated conditions in the contract. So, of course, they have to legally abide by the contractual conditions. And in case of inability, there should be adequate safeguards built in the form of clearly identified termination payments under various possible scenarios. This is very important that at times, if a party is trapped in a distressful situation, right, then the government should have, and due to some unforeseen reasons for that matter, right, then of course adequate clauses must be there, adequate number of clauses to ensure that parties should be able to have adequate safeguards, clearly identified termination payments under various possible scenarios there. And institutionalization and efficiency of dispute resolution, that is very necessary. And the task force have recommended ministry level committees to resolve complex contractual disputes as mediation mechanism that can settle disputes out of the court, right? And critical step in addressing dwindling private sector participation in infrastructure can be institutionalizing dispute resolution mechanism to efficiently resolve disputes related to PPP projects. Find that dispute resolution at times is very slow, lethargic, and it's a very tardy process. So that should be completely be revolutionized, and more attention should be paid to dispute settlement in time, so that uh, eventually the idea is to ensure the success of the projects. And then, of course, improving capacity development of project execution agencies, that is also one of the major aims. Because you see what happens, if the executive agencies, the agencies which are executing the project, if they are not having sufficient capacity developed, then obviously they will not be able to achieve the project goals. So it is necessary that the capacity of public institutions to plan, prepare, and deliver infrastructure projects on schedule is a key to effective infrastructure development. That should be enhanced. And it is critical to undertake steps such as enabling a robust project governance structure, use of agile planning. Agile planning is one of the modern ways of handling projects, and that should be resorted to. And improvement in procurement processes and strengthening contract management, that was badly required. I have already spoken about it in details. And strengthening people management processes in order to improve the project management capabilities of public institutions and provide flexibility to hire top talent at senior level, including project leadership. So there should be enough flexibility to hire top talent at the senior level. Otherwise, what happens that if government is saddled with rigid norms selecting project managers and program managers, and then they will not be able to actually have top talents. They have to have some degree of flexibility, and that is why the task force is suggesting this particular thing in a big way, that it is necessary, it is rather indispensable for the success of the project that there should be sufficient flexibility to hire the top talent for the top management of the project. And strengthening the infrastructure quality. A good quality infrastructure is important to attaining faster economic growth, ensuring an improved human development index and broad-based participation in development and equitable distribution of benefits. This is very necessary, that the participation is broad-based. I mean, as many stakeholders as possible, right? Their opinion should be included, and projects should therefore be conceptualized in a comprehensive manner. And also equitable distribution of benefits, that must be ensured. This goes hand in hand with broad-based participation and equitable distribution of benefits. And a number of global benchmarks are available, including G20 principles of quality infrastructure investment. The task force has recommended that a national framework for infrastructure quality must be laid down based on global and national standards. already there is a thought in this direction that quality global benchmark should be adopted, and uh, should be the global national standards should be created for that purpose. And of course, we have to promote competition as well, healthy competition, in order to enhance competition, the domestic markets, to promote a culture of competition in the country. And we need to establish an antitrust resolution mechanism, right? So antitrust, if antitrust is there, then it should be resolved. Improve collaboration between the Competition Commission of India and sector regulators to address competition related concerns, because you see at times some companies, they huddle together and they create an oligarchic situation, eliminating healthy competition for others. So Competition Commission of India job is basically to ensure that there is fairness in competition, fairness in the whole process of contract management and awarding of contracts and all that, and to ensure that there is healthy competition, right? So both the things have to be looked into. And antitrust resolution must be emphasized primarily, and all there should be a better collaboration between CCI, that is Competition Commission of India. And we know that Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act was abolished and CCI was created. And the primary purpose for which CCI has been created to ensure, healthy competitive environment for growth of the national economy primarily, right? And so, all sector regulators, different sector regulators concerned with the projects and Competition Commission, they must have, a symbiotic and so to say vibrant relation. Collaboration must be a better collaboration to achieve the goals of NIP. And in order to attract foreign and private capital into infrastructure, it is critical to undertake various policy reforms as well, and revitalizing the bond and credit market. This is very necessary that bond market is revitalized. We have a very immature, so to say, the bond market still is in its in embryonic stage of development. So that has to be jacked up in a big way. And credit enhancement institution for infrastructure project is expected to open up appetite of bond market investors for investing in infrastructure projects. Right? And institutional investors are more suited to fund infrastructure projects given the long-term capital requirement of infrastructure projects. Infrastructure projects are a long-term requirement. That's 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, even 30 years, right? So for that enabling environment has to be there, and we have to revitalize the bond and credit market for that purpose. So capital investment solution is the key to that, and we have to create a positive environment for a long-term capital investment perspective in that direction. So strict regulatory requirements require these investors to invest only in safe government and public sector bonds. And you know that generally speaking, investors have limited appetite for lower rated assets below AA for that matter, as most of the infrastructure projects are rated below AA. Now, it is critical to enhance their rating to augment the access of institutional investors to infrastructure sector through capital market instruments. A well capitalized credit enhancement institution set up as early as possible. So then, of course, the task force has suggested a number of other methods, means for in that direction. For example, it is also important that the long-term resources from the pension and insurance sectors are channelized into infrastructure bond market, and this may require the government to work with IRDA, that is IRDA and PFRDA, right? The Insurance Regulatory Development Authority, and this is PF, Provident Fund Development Authority, to re-examine existing investment guidelines. Now, further, growing the that is the pension regulatory authority, and the pool of pensions and insurance assets through sector reforms is a pressing requirement, including potential FDI reforms. Right? So to say that capacity building up and banking and financial institutions building up capacity of banking and financial institutions, including IIFCL and SBI, to provide long-term infrastructure finance is critical for growth of the sector, right? And so, a whole lot of mechanisms have been suggested by the task force in that direction, so as to reform this particular area for fulfillment of the long-term requirements of NIP. And of course, a strengthening of the municipal bond market has been suggested in a big way, because it becomes critical that these local governments start tapping the bond market. So far, 8 local bodies in India have raised around 3,390 crore via municipal. And you see, by 2024, 50 cities are expected to issue municipal bonds. And given the governance and accounting reforms that municipalities need to undertake before they can inspire trust in the market, municipal bonds are a sure way to transform urban governance. So many of the fund requirements, they can be sorted out if this particular aspect is taken care of. That is, municipal bonds are strengthened and trust is developed in investors to invest more in municipal bonds. And that can really transform the urban government big way. And of course, there are key steps needed to undertake the local government for raising funds, that improving the financial discipline and through regular disclosures, augmenting revenue base and buoyancy of revenue of local governments, addressing gap in credit worthiness of local governments through innovative credit enhancement structures, and encouraging pooled bond issuances. Then revitalizing asset monetization is also necessary, and this asset monetization means whatever assets government is having, it can monetize them, right? Some of the assets can be sold out, some of the assets they can be leased out, right? And they can be monetized. And some assets, of course, like coal blocks and these things, coal mines, so they can be monetized. Underutilized assets can be monetized and put to greater use. So monetization, asset monetization is also badly required to be looked into in a big way, so that it will help create additional pool of funds for completion of these infrastructure projects. So asset monetization therefore is considered critical for infrastructure sector, as asset owning ministries like central public sector enterprises, like more than 350 public sector enterprises and all we have, and local bodies can reduce their debt burden by monetizing their asset portfolio for further investment in creation of assets, right? Now, NHAI is amongst the first to monetize operational assets for past 4 years. Many of the highways which are underutilized, they can be improved upon through variety of projects, and asset monetization resorted to. Asset monetization can be undertaken through sale of land, for example, non-operational assets through long-term lease and significant upfront lease payments, and the toll operate transfer model of operational road assets, right? That is the BOT model, that is build, operate, transfer model, under public-private partnership concession agreements. So all these methods are possible in order to mobilize more resources for infrastructure projects. Then, of course, ultimately enabling user charges to finance infrastructure. Enabling user charges also, that is a critical area. It's critical to ensure that appropriate pricing of infrastructure services for the sponsors and investors for the infrastructure assets to recover both capital and operating costs, right? Appropriate prices have to be there. Appropriate pricing. It need not be subsidized price. It has to be appropriate price. It is necessary to determine fair value of user charges to finance and grow infrastructure. So unless fair value is charged, then it will not be possible to further develop them. And therefore, user charges policy framework will provide more clarity to investors and in turn improve their confidence. Then, of course, the task force has recommended autonomous regulation of tariffs, which does not always translate into independent sectoral regulation. So anyways, what I'm saying is that a lot of reforms have been advised and suggested. Long-term financing landscape has been suggested. And finally, performance monitoring and evaluation is a key area. A monitoring and evaluation tool shall be used to help all stakeholders monitor the implementation and actual progress vis-a-vis the initial estimates of the NIP projects for each of the subsectors. So this is very essential that adequate monitoring at all the requisite levels is done and evaluation is done. while basic monitoring will vest with the ministry and the project agencies, there is a need for higher level monitoring as well on reforms to be undertaken. So reforms, the adequate reforms are put into system, and they are adequately monitored and evaluated at all levels. So ultimately, effective monitoring will go a long way in ensuring a grand success of the NIP projects. So obviously, like these projects, it's a very grand conceptualization, and for its grand success, what we need eventually, not only now variety of reforms which have been suggested by the task force itself, but in addition to all that, we need effective monitoring and evaluation. And with these words, I will end my talk of the day, and I wish you all the very best of success. Remember, my name is Vishrut Abhinna. Follow me up on my YouTube talks. You can also, join Unacademy platform and watch my free classes which are available on the platform. And on Unacademy Articulate channel, you can watch my videos. And also, soon I will come up with additional more videos for you, which will help you prepare in a better way for civil service exams. Thank you so much.